Hello and welcome back. My name is Lin and I'm here to break down episode 5 of WandaVision for you. This episode is so jam-packed with stuff, guys, and it gave me a lot to work with that I have multiple theory videos incoming, so please like and subscribe to get more content. Right, let's get to it. The episode starts off with Wanda and Vision trying to get the twins to stop crying, and this is where we get our first clue that Wanda can't control her children. She literally tried to use her powers to stop the kids from crying, but it doesn't work. Agnes then miraculously shows up just as Wanda needs her, the first of many times in this episode, and Vision suspects she knows things she shouldn't and asks her how does she know that the kids were crying. She says she heard them, but Vision doesn't buy it, you can see it on his face. Agnes then shows more awareness of this sitcom world than any other residents of Westview has shown in the past. Other characters either glitch or get rewinded back when something happens that Wanda doesn't like, or temporarily get their faculties back when Wanda is distracted or distressed. Here, Agnes initiates the prompt for Wanda to redo the scene. This surprises even Wanda, but she tries to calm down Vision when he notices that something is off. The kids then age up at an accelerated rate, as we all suspected they would. Agnes then says you can't control kids, which I think is going to be very important later. When we get this episode's intro sequence, we get those hilarious childhood photos of Vision, which we all know is a lie. But look how cute he is. We then cut to outside the anomaly to Monica, and she's going through medical examinations, but there's a voiceover of what must have been her debriefing, and it's talking about how inside Wanda's reality, it felt like grief to her. And we get flashes to Monica waking up at the hospital, finding out about her mother's death, and I think this shows why Monica was so eager to relate to Wanda and reach out to her and help her later, because she empathized with Wanda because she just went through such great grief as well. We then find out that Monica's medical scans are blank and her blood work is abnormal. Now, a lot of you probably already know that Monica Rambeau is a superhero in the comics. She goes by Photon Spectrum. At some point, she was even Captain Marvel. And a lot of people have been theorizing that this show is where she gets her powers, and I think that's what's happening here. Later, she says she thinks Wanda protected her when she was blasted out of the anomaly. Because let's face it, how she was blasted out would have either killed or seriously injured a normal human, but she was okay. So we could be seeing the origin of her powers in that Wanda altered her physically to protect her from the blast, and in the process ended up giving her powers. Sword then have a briefing on the situation, and we get a lot of information dumped on us about Wanda's origins. Now, a lot of it is stuff we already know. Her parents' name, Arena and Olyak Maximoff, doesn't match any of her real or foster parents' names from the comics. The scene then also reminds us that her powers come from the unexplained experiments with the Mind Stone. We also see information from Wanda's file on the screen. Now, it's worth noting that even though Wu says she was born in 1989, the file says she was born in 1988. This is probably just a production mistake they didn't catch though, instead of something significant to the plot. The powers they list in her file is also the exact words Maria Hill used to describe them in Age of Ultron.
Her thing is neuroelectric interfacing, telekinesis, mental manipulation.
They then spend quite a significant amount of time to remind us that Wanda has no code name in the MCU, which is true. She and Pietro has never been called the Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver at any point in the MCU, only in the marketing. Tony Stark did once call her a witch in Age of Ultron, but only as an insult, not as a hint towards any kind of nickname or code name. But why do they really drive this point home here? I think it's because she's going to get the title Scarlet Witch in this show. And I think that means magic and not technology is in play here behind all of this. They also name drop the Lagos incident, which is where Wanda accidentally blew up a building full of people, which led to the formation of the Sokovian Accords and subsequent civil war for the Avengers. We then get Darcy saying Hayward is an, presumably a rude word, get interrupted with Hayward saying terrorist.
Hayward's a terrorist.
This is more ammunition for people who think Hayward is a secret villain, but I think this is a red herring because I don't think he's a terrorist. First of all, they already have upper echelon of S.H.I.E.L.D. turned out to be Hydra terrorists. So I think it will be quite lame to go back to the same well again. I do believe he does have something to hide though, but I think it's garden variety maliciousness rather than supervillainy. More on that later. Monica spent this briefing defending Wanda. She thinks Wanda is responsible, that's clear from the last episode and this episode, but she doesn't believe Wanda have the intent to harm. Like I mentioned before, she believed Wanda protected her when she casted her out. She wanted her gone, not dead. She also believes that Wanda put up her own quarantine and limited the damage instead. She has the perspective that Wanda is not completely in control, and she says it's not a premeditated act of aggression, which I agree with. The thing to note here is while director Hayward started the briefing by saying they have valuable first-person intel from Monica, he's not actually listening to Monica's input. Instead, he's trying to convince everyone that Wanda is the villain here, which he further tried to support by revealing that S.W.O.R.D. was the secret location of Vision's corpse and Wanda broke in to steal it from S.W.O.R.D. Notice how in the footage, Vision's body is in pieces even though when he died in Wakanda in Infinity War, his body was whole. This shows that S.W.O.R.D. was conducting extensive invasive experiments on Vision's corpse, essentially desecrating the corpse. No wonder Wanda is mad. This lead Agent Wu to say Wanda violated the Sokovian Accords by doing this, which means the Sokovian Accords are still supposed to be in effect. Hayward then says Wanda's actions in resurrecting Vision is also against his own living will. Now, a living will, formerly called an advanced care directive, is an individual wishes for their future medical treatment in circumstances where they're unable to provide their consent. It usually means like a no resuscitation order, but when you're a synthezoid in the MCU, I guess it also extends to no resurrection. It's important here to analyze who gave us which part of the information. Hayward only gave us enough to put the blame on Wanda, to paint her as out of control, even violating Vision's wishes. But he's only giving us the letter of the law, if you will. Agent Wu, the character who is more of an audience surrogate, give us information that illuminate what is the spirit of the law instead, as in why Vision wanted no resurrections. He says Vision didn't want to be anyone's weapon. If you remember from Age of Ultron, Vision was built by Ultron to be his next body. Vision's birth was a series of very special circumstances. Ultron already uploaded half his mind into Vision when Tony got it and inserted Jarvis in there. There is also the wild cards, that is the Mind Stone and Thor's lightning. There's no secret recipe to replicate exactly what was in that blend of special herbs and spices. If he was to be resurrected, especially without the Mind Stone, what could he be? He wouldn't want to risk being more Ultron than Jarvis. Now this brings me to the point Hayward is trying to brush over and hide. What he's doing is also against Vision's wishes. Those experiments S.W.O.R.D. is conducting on Visions, they're not planning on making super advanced AI teddy bears. If Visions don't want to be a weapon, he definitely don't want to be weaponized as a mass-produced AI army, which is what S.W.O.R.D. is going to do when the experiments come to fruition. And the reason he's trying not to bring attention to that is because he already knows Monica disagree with him on the direction of S.W.O.R.D. Last episode, Monica says they were supposed to be observing and responding, not creating AIs and weapons.
It also says observation and response on that door, not creation.
So Monica, since she blipped back, have caught up with S.W.O.R.D. files enough to know of this new direction S.W.O.R.D. is taking in AI research, even though she doesn't know about the Vision's corpse itself, and she doesn't like it. With Monica being more in line with Maria's original vision for S.W.O.R.D. and also literal heir to the throne, if you will, it makes sense that Hayward is threatened. There's also a few little nitbits here that is worth noting. Wu asked the important question, how did Wanda bring him back without the Mind Stone? And they used the word synthezoid to describe Vision again. Back in the sitcom world, the kids hide a dog from Wanda. Note that this seems to genuinely surprise Wanda. It wasn't in the script, if you will. This is more evidence for the fact that Wanda can't control the kids. Here, Wanda and Vision have an argument over how cavalier Wanda is getting with usage of her powers, and not hiding them. Wanda cares less and less because she knows this world will bend to her will. And she's right, just a few seconds later when the boys age themselves up, Agnes doesn't care. What Wanda wants is for them to have a normal life, not hiding their true self, now that she knows this is her little sanctuary. We then come back to Monica, who's proposing building a vehicle that can get through the anomaly. She mentioned an aerospace engineer who could be up to this challenge. Who could she be talking about? I think this is going to turn out to be Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, somebody who take over the legacy of Iron Man in the comics. Why? Because Disney just announced an Ironheart show in December of last year, so quite recently, and it's not scheduled to release until at least 2022 at the earliest, but they already casted the lead character herself. This quite an early casting reveal could be because she is cameoing in a much earlier show like WandaVision. Darcy then referred to the anomaly as a hex because of its hexagonal shape. I will find it so hilarious, and after all these obsessing over the hexagons, if it is just a way for Wanda's spells to be called a hex. Notice the reaction Monica had to the mention of Captain Marvel's name? She doesn't like it and she changed the subject. Monica then confirmed Wanda have reality-altering powers now by showing us that her 70s costume is real and 87% Kevlar now because she was wearing a bulletproof vest. This now confirmed that Wanda can alter the reality inside the hex, and they stay put once outside in the real world. They don't change back. This support my theory that Monica has been altered inside the hex, which granted her superpowers, and she will keep it in the real world. Inside the anomaly, Vision then intercepted an email, which is the last piece of puzzle he needed to start to figure all of this out. So he brings Norm out of the trance. Norm freaks out and tries to contact his family, and Vision, his suspicions confirmed, put him back under the spell. Now this event has already been detailed on Norm's paperwork in episode 4, but I think this is just simply an editing continuity error. Order of events and therefore order of footage get shifted around all the time in editing and post-production. I think the information on the wall was supposed to be later, but the reveal got moved up. They either missed the paragraph or didn't bother editing out because it's like a split second of screen time for normal audience. Just not us crazy people who are poring over every little detail. Note that Norm says she's in my head. He never says Wanda's name. She's an Avenger and then later a famous fugitive. I think they would know her name. He could be referring to any she in this instant. It could be Agnes. It could even be Dottie. We then find out Wanda is starting to be able to tell Vision is catching on, because she made a Saturday into a Monday so he can go to work and be preoccupied. But we find out that the kids aren't affected. They know it's supposed to be a Saturday, and here Pietro is brought up again, preparing us for a later reveal. We then get to the drone scene. Monica set an 80s tag so it wouldn't be automatically altered so they can remain in control. Monica tried to talk Wanda down, but Wanda wasn't immediately responsive. Turned out Hayward secretly armed the drone and tried to take control and shoot Wanda with a missile. This is one of the reasons that why I think Hayward is just a garden variety douchebag, because if he was anyone significant, he would know that this wouldn't work on Wanda. So either he is uninformed enough to think this would work, or his secret intention is to provoke Wanda and cause chaos. Now whoever is controlling Wanda, their goal is Wanda's peaceful compliance. They definitely don't want to harm her, at least not yet. So I think what's happening here is Hayward is trying to act out of fear and also to try to hide his incompetence and his responsibility in maybe pursuing this AI research aggressively, which set Wanda off. I think he's just a jealous, petty man who's trying to erase his mistake. He doesn't have a supervillain agenda. Wanda then pop out of the anomaly to return the drone and threaten Hayward. And this scene shows just how powerful Wanda have become. The drone crackle with her energy and she take control of 20 plus sword agents without even getting close to them. Whereas in Age of Ultron, she had to be close to people to influence them. Also note that Wanda calls Hayward director. She knows who he is. She could have done her research before she attacked Saw to take Vision's body, but it could also mean that they have met before. Monica, much like me, thinks there's something else going on. She thinks Wanda at least subconsciously see her as an ally. Wanda turned the anomaly red, which I take to mean it's going to be more aggressive now on at least 2 outside interlopers. We then see Sparky poisoned by eating azalea bushes. The boys think Wanda can bring it back, once again demonstrating a more innate knowledge of what's going on than they should have. Now when Wanda say that we can't reverse death because some things are forever, I don't think she's being a hypocrite. I think it's a clue that she knows deep down Vision isn't really back. He's not really resurrected. And of course, she could also be thinking about her brother who she can't bring back. It is of course suspicious that Agnes is the one who discovered Sparky poisoned. But what could be her motives? Now if you recall, Agnes has been there every time the boys age themselves up. She sprays them with Lavender right before the first time they aged themselves up. And the second time, when she brought over the doghouse, arguing with Wanda and Vision about when they would be responsible enough to have a dog is what caused them to age themselves up again. Now, they almost aged themselves up again before Wanda stopped them. Could Agnes be deliberately trying to get the boys to age themselves up? If so, why? Well, I think it could be because they really need to control the children and...
Can't control them.
Vision then buries Sparky in the yard. Now let's talk about Sparky. He is straight out of the Tom King's 12 issues run of the Vision, his name and all. This is a comic where Vision constructs himself a synthesized family and try to live a suburban life. In the comics, he was originally the neighbor's dog, who's due to circumstances that are too complex to explain here, end up dying in the Vision's yard. The Vision then later turned it into a synthesized dog for his children. I'm not saying exactly that will happen here, but I don't think this is the last we've seen of little Sparky yet, especially because if my theories are correct, next episode should be all about resurrections. Vision then revealed to Wanda that he has caught on, and he tells her that she can't control him. Wanda, and this is hilarious to me, literally tried to roll the credits on the argument, but Vision isn't having it. Vision then suggests, and I believe this is what's happening too, that Wanda just recently become aware of the situation. Wanda kinda confirms it later when she says she can't remember exactly how it all started. She also says that she's not controlling everyone, though Vision don't exactly believe her. So my belief is that she only come to truly realize the situation when Monica mentioned Ultron in episode 3 and it snapped her out of the trance. But she's so fearful of losing what she have again, have just kind of been rolling with it. The floating shouting match between the two also confirms some facts. Vision can't remember anything before Westview, even though he's aware of how this is a fake reality now. Wanda clearly recalls her whole backstory when she comes to find out that Westview is a sham. An important thing to take away from this is that Vision doesn't know that he's dead. Wanda then plead with Vision for this life to be enough for him, just like it is for her. Vision doesn't answer here, but raise the fact that they are no children in Westview. At first I was like, oh god, Wanda have transmuted all the children into Tommy and Billy like she did with Monica's uniform. But when I stop and think about it, no, I don't think so. That's way too dark for a Disney Plus show, and I don't think they're gonna turn Wanda into this much of a villain. I think what's happening here is just like it's been hinted this episode, whatever's empowering this reality cannot control the children. So I think they have taken them hostage. I think that chant of for the children has a double meaning. They are here to help produce Tommy and Billy for whoever's behind the scene, but also to cooperate to get their children back. We then get the biggest reveal of the episode. Someone is at the door, and it turned out to be Evan Peters, apparently as Pietro Maximoff, Quicksilver. Now, those of you who are not in the know, Evan Peters played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movie before Disney bought Fox. Back then, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, being both mutants and prominent Avengers, had to be shared by Fox, who had the right to the X-Men, and Disney's Marvel, who had the right to the Avengers. They worked out a deal, which apparently is that Marvel will use both Quicksilver and Wanda in Age of Ultron, but can't call them mutants or make Magneto's their father like in the comics. Fox will use Quicksilver, but obviously can't say or reference anything about the Avengers. The rumor is also that there was an understanding between the two studios, which led to Quicksilver being killed off in Age of Ultron, so Fox can keep using their version of Quicksilver prominently in their X-Men movies, and Fox didn't introduce Wanda in the X-Men movies, only referenced her, so Marvel can keep using Scarlet Witch prominently in the MCU. Now at first glance, there are two possibilities. First, this could just be an alternate universe Quicksilver, which is supposed to be Fox X-Men Quicksilver, walk straight into this reality, which Marvel can do now because they've bought Fox and have all of their rights back that Fox previously used to own. Or they have simply recasted the role with the guy who played the more popular Quicksilver who was in more movies. But I believe there is also a third option, which is that he is not Quicksilver, and I have a theory who he might be. But seeing as this video has already been incredibly long, I'm going to tackle that in another video, and I'm also going to have different videos on how and why the Vision is back and what it could mean for this show, and how WandaVision is taking us through Wanda going through the 5 stages of grief. So please subscribe and push that little bell icon so you'll get notified when those videos come out. Follow the channel on Twitter @MuchNerdThings. Thanks for watching and peace.